Is he in this building?
Who?
Her brother.
What's his name?
Right here. I'm gonna find another picture. You gotta add on.
I don't think so.
I don't remember seeing it. It might.
Y'all ready? Uh-huh. Mary J. Blige. Every day it rains. All right. We're back. Headlines and Headaches Part 2 candidate forum. And I got one of my favorite people. And she brought another person that one of my favorite people. So we got my favorite people in the building. So the first time. Well, the thing about it is that if you see these ladies in action, are they my favorite people? Especially the one that's sitting next to me. Ha ha. So, the first person we're going to introduce, T-Rex. We're going to keep playing that music. She's running for domestic relations court in 2020, along with everything else. So please welcome none other than Miss Joy Kennedy in the building. How are you, Miss Kennedy?
I am well. How are you?
I'm great. So, we're not going to, shout out to Judge Cassidy that just pretty much ripped the runway.
And she just tells it like a TIE.
Right. So, and
no if and ands and buts and buts.
exactly. So we're not going to Joy Kennedy is next year, and we will be bringing her back. So, would you tell us about your experience?
Well, I am Joy Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
I am running for the Domestic Relations Court in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lifelong Clevelander.
Okay.
East Clevelander, actually.
Okay.
Born and raised in East Cleveland. Went to Shaw High School.
Shaw High?
Mighty Cardinals. Participated in the marching band.
Wow.
And that is where my family is from.
Okay.
I went away to college at Hampton University and enjoyed my life and my time at a HBCU. I got a bachelor's in social work. Then I went to Virginia Commonwealth University and got a master's degree in social work. Okay. So I have a master's degree in social work, and I am a licensed independent social worker for the state of Ohio. I have been a social worker for a little bit over 24 years.
Wow.
I have worked directly with families and children, and I have become that problem solver. I like to help families in their time of need, and so I recognize not only when they're in that time of need, but when they need resources, and I'm able to connect them to those resources and hope for a better situation. No matter what that situation is that they come to you in, you want them to leave you in a much better position. So I was before the court in Washington, D.C. as a social worker. And at that time, I was a lot younger. So as a social worker, as well with the younger. So I got to work with the teens at the time. Case manager or counselor, I was responsible for them when they ran away, when they were in distress, when they needed someone to talk to. I carried a pager on call and received calls. But when I went to court and tried to explain to the court what I felt was best for them, it was almost as if they didn't really listen to me. They wanted to hear from the attorney. They wanted to hear from that legal mind. And at the time, I didn't have that legal mind. So I thought that I had something for the judge.
Right.
I said, you know what? I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to go to law school, and I'm going to come back before you. And when I come before you this time, I'll have that legal perspective as well as that therapeutic background. And then you have to listen to me because you listen to judges. But I can give you that therapeutic piece and what that we serve, they would listen and we'll be all good.
So how long you been an attorney?
I've been an attorney for almost 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So you've been a social worker for 24 years. You got that aspect. You've been an attorney, and what is your specialty, your legal specialty?
Well, I'll tell you, in the law career, I started off, or I've actually been with the Cuyahoga County Public Defender's Office doing that work for 14 years. And our office has more than one division. So we have a juvenile division, and then we have a general felony division. In the juvenile, I work with the abuse, neglect, and dependency docket, On that docket, those are the children or the families who may be separated because of abuse or neglect or whatever the situation is going on at that time. So I work with those mothers, helping them to fight to get their children back. I work with the families, I work with the children, but I'm also in our general felony division right now. And in that division, I handle all types of criminal cases, whether they're death penalty, arson, rape, robbery, all of those. In addition to that, I have handled cases in the domestic relations court, in the probate court, in housing court. So over these 14 years, I've done a lot to help others and fight for justice.
Well, so you work in the court system. You don't have your own law firm.
That is correct. I work in the court system.
Okay. So pretty much, you have the social work piece, the attorney piece. To what made you decide to run for judge? And we're gonna leave you alone and go to Ms. Byers over here, smiling, waiting in wings.
Well, I decided to run for this seat first because the judge is retiring and it's now an open seat. And in filling that seat, you need someone who is compassionate, someone who's fair, someone who's hardworking, and someone who's just. Someone who is going to bring you honesty, but someone who has that diverse background, who can see some of the things that are happening, who has experienced more things in life, who has had experience representing clients who are in need, and you need somebody like Kennedy.
You said you need somebody like Jay. I'm impressed with this. I've seen her before, and I told her about the show, and she said, bring me on. And it just so happened she rolled with, Judge Byers. Yeah, she is in very good company.
I'm in good company.
So she said she in good company. So, what Joy Kennedy sounds astute, besides her having the last name of the ages, she sounds very astute. Jay, what do you think about?
Hey, what can I say? What can I say? There's nothing I can say.
Wait a minute, hold on, Miss Kennedy. Mrs. Kennedy.
First time in how long?
It's the first time this is the first time in years that you're speechless.
Well, I'll take it.
That's good. So we bringing her back. So T-Rex, I gotta introduce the other person properly, and her, you know how much, Voices Radio is one of our few guests that has come back, that has done things. So please welcome none other than the South Euclid judicial mind, the shero of South Euclid. That's what everybody calls her. Please welcome none other than one of my favorite people, Miss Judge Gail Williams Byers in the building. How you doing, Miss?
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me back. I am so honored to be here with Jay and with Larry. And congratulations on and rooting for you both. And Jay, I'm looking forward to seeing that dress.
Okay.
And finding
Somebody
out.
got the body dress.
I'm looking forward to finding out who your date will be.
All right, exactly. So first of all,
But it's a well-earned honor.
Thank.
And I salute you both. Your work here is hard, and I honor the work that you do. Thank you all for your labor of love.
Dealing with Larry as well.
You know what? Stop it. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Hard work pays off.
All right. Thank you. So the thing is that, Your Honor, and the last time you came on this show, you were running in South Euclid. You were already judged there. You were running in South Euclid. You won your race.
Indeed, the people of South Euclid resoundingly reelected me to what is now my second term in that community, and I'm grateful. I am honored to serve them and to continue to serve in a community that is committed to being progressive, and I am proud to be part of a progressive judicial branch of government, and hope that other parts of the city government would lock arms and join me in that spirit of progression.
We're going to talk about that a little later, because people have been, trying to get after you, and I heard some stuff. So we're going to get after that later. But right now, you are running for the 8th District Court of Appeals, correct?
Indeed. And so in 2020, March 17th of 2020, you will see my name on the county-wide ballot for the open seat for the Ohio 8th District Court of Appeals. That seat becomes open and vacant as a function of a retirement from the bench.
Okay.
Judge Patricia Blackman is retiring, and so as a function of that retirement, I have declared my candidacy for the 8th District Court of Appeals, and I'm mighty proud of that opportunity to excel to that bench. I believe I'm quintessentially qualified to be the next judge on the 8th District Court of Appeals as a function of my experience serving all of Cuyahoga County as an assistant county prosecutor practicing in front of this same court.
Right.
So I know what it takes to practice in front of this court. I have not only written briefs for this court, but I've argued in front of it. And currently as a judge in my own court, I write my own opinions.
Right.
And I do my own research. And so I'm proud of the work that I do. I actually, on my court's website, we have an opinion bank. So if you ever want to know how I reason and I rationalize my decisions, you can read them there. But you can also see where other cases have been appealed to this same court and how this same Court of Appeals has responded to those appeals. And I'm proud that more often than not, my decisions have been affirmed or upheld. And in those rare occasions it hasn't been, you can read that as well. And I'm happy to say that that's rare.
Right, exactly.
And so, I believe that I am uniquely and quintessentially qualified to be the next judge on this bench. So I look forward to earning the support of Cuyahoga County to be their next 8th District Court of Appeals judge.
Court of Appeals judge. Now, the thing, thank you, T-Rex, for that. The thing about it is that you will be leaving if or when you win in 2020. When, you know, we always speak life into existence, like when
That's what the word says.
Joy
Those
Kennedy,
things that are not
when
as
Joy
though they were.
Kennedy wins, for her race, you will be leaving the South Euclid Court.
Well, again, a judge can't occupy more than one seat at a time.
Right.
Just like we say we have, one president at a time, you occupy one judicial seat at a time.
Exactly.
And so it would require that I divest myself of the seat in South Euclid to move to the 8th District Court of Appeals bench, which would then invest in the governor the authority to appoint to the South Euclid bench, because every judicial vacancy then gives the governor of the state the authority to appoint to that vacancy, no matter what kind of court it is, be it a municipal court or any other court. The governor always appoints, but then that judge, that appointed judge, is required to run for what's called the unexpired term in the next available judicial election for that particular seat, whether or not that term or not election.
So here's my question to you. You know I was going to ask this anyway, Judge Byers. By the way, shout out to your grandbaby for keeping you on your toes. Hey, what's the grandbaby name?
Layla.
Oh, Layla.
Layla, like Layla Hathaway.
Oh, Layla. Oh, so she been running back and forth getting snacks from the table. So, or just because, and we love the kids here at Headlines and Headaches.
And she is surely keeping us on our toes.
Exactly, she is. So, speaking of when you win and if the governor appoints somebody, do you have anybody that when you win and have to leave South Euclid? Do you have anybody in mind? You know I was going to ask you this. We brought it up.
So here's what I'll say. And I think that, there are jurists that would agree with this across the board. First of all, I have no opinion or input in how that decision is made gubernatorially. But here's what I want everyone to know about the community of South Euclid is that my community is chock full of talent, and that the depth of talent that exists in South Euclid is endless. That there may be those who believe that the talent pool is shallow, but it is not. That one need only to look hard enough and reach deep enough in order to pull in the talent. Sometimes, given the nature of the environment, we can actually create environments which talent from wanting to engage their own government. And if you create a hostile enough environment, then you can actually discourage
Right.
talent from wanting to get involved. I think downside of that is that we are short-sighted in understanding that we cannot regenerate ourselves. So our lifespan as both natural human beings, but also as politicians, have a natural end date. So that means we won't be here forever.
Right.
And so where we fail to encourage the best talent, the cream at the top, it means that on the day not encourage our best talent to come forward and to create a space for them to actually enter the fray and take our spaces, we have actually created an environment of our own detriment.
Let the church say amen.
You know
And
what?
so-
Amen to that.
That is the folly of our short-sightedness.
You know her father a preacher, right?
And that's just not from the judicial side
Right.
perspective of it. That's leaders in general in this entire
Exactly.
city.
Right.
That's what happens, and that's what's happening now, and that's why we're at such a detriment and a disservice to us because we haven't groomed the next
The
leader.
next leaders.
And I think in grooming is important, but again, you can groom, but you have to create an environment where we actually invite and we expect our young people to engage their government. There is no way that we can continue this thing we call a democracy, a living democracy where we want our young people to take the reins and continue this thing if we create a hostile environment for them to get involved. They are going to repel their involvement if it continues to be so hostile. And that's from the top down.
Did I just walk into a sermon?
She
I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Second Ebenezer Baptist Church, the All City Revival. Gail Williams Byers. You want to know? Would you tell everybody who your daddy is? Go ahead and say it, because that was put in her blood. Go ahead and say it.
I'm not a preacher. I am not a preacher by any stretch of the imagination.
But she can sing though. If you looked at my Facebook Live, where she can sing.
I'm just really honest about my convictions, and I can't divorce myself from my convictions. I'm just honest about that. But I will tell you, I'll answer your question.
Go
I'm
ahead.
the proud daughter of Reverend Dr. A.E. Williams, pastor of Beulah Baptist Church in Collinwood Heights, Ohio. I am a native Clevelander. And so when folks ask me, hey, you're the judge in South Euclid, I say that's where I'm physically located. But I'll tell you, there's no judge anywhere who only sees folks in their backyard, in their community. I see folks from anywhere, anytime, in any community. And therefore, I don't have a constituency that's limited to South Euclid. The folks that come in my court come from anywhere, from any walk of life. I see some good folks on their worst days from all parts and all corners of South Euclid, Cleveland, East Cleveland, Rocky River. Heck, I have folks from out of state that come through my court because they just happen to intersect with my community. And my responsibility as a judge is to dispense justice to whoever lands in front of me without regard to zip code.
All right.
Without regard to where
All
they
right.
come from. That is my job.
You know what? It's a black.
That is my responsibility.
You know what? That's a black. That's a black fit stuff for you.
That's to whom I have an obligation. And so to those who would say, you know, let's ask, you know, the folks in this particular neighborhood or in this particular community whether or not this particular judge is doing their job, I would submit to them, you ask the people who appear in front of me whether or not I'm doing the job that they expect me to do, because it's to those people that I have an in my hand. It's those people who are expecting to have a judge, a good judge, a judge that they don't have to educate, a judge that they don't have to teach, a judge that already knows the law, not a judge that's learning while they're sitting there, a judge that doesn't have to trade in their black robe for a bathrobe. That judge. That's the judge
Well,
that they
Ooh.
deserve.
well,
That's the judge.
mic drop.
You.
Mic drop.
Do we need an extinguisher in here? Because she just, you know what I
Set it
mean.
on fire.
I mean, the thing about it is that
were on fire recently for fines or whatever, and you use whatever somebody said. I forgot the article. It's not voice of radio. It didn't matter anyway. Would you like to answer those particular questions about why people are coming after you?
No, you'd have to ask them.
Exactly.
I think they should have to answer that question. I don't have an answer for what their motivation is. All I can tell you is I don't know anybody who wants a dumb judge.
Come on.
And
Oh.
I apologize for
Come
being
on
an
through.
educated judge. So
Come on
you have
through.
to ask them why, if, and when anybody who stands in front of a judge wants a dumb one. But here's what I can tell you is that I will never apologize for not being one.
Come on
As to
through.
motivation, I don't know theirs, but I suspect they know theirs.
All right.
You know what? That's another mic drop right about now. Is this show over? No, it's not, because we still got a couple of people coming behind you. But the thing about it is that the reason, and this is my interpretation, now, no way in shape and form that Voice of Radio or Headlines and Headaches endorses any candidate. But at the same time, when you have good candidates like Joy Kennedy, like Judge Gail Williams-Byers doing the work, and they come under scrutiny as for, and I'm going to say this, for being African-American women, for the color of their skin, not the content of the character, not the simple fact of the matter is that they're doing the work. When you have something like this happen, you have to look at who's throwing the information out. The bottom line is that this woman, as I've known Judge Gail Williams-Byers, as I've been around her on the campaign trail, has been one of the most honest people that I ever known. And for those people, all those media people who are looking for controversy, please come see me, and I'll tell you what's what. So really, really, please.
Make sure y'all see Larry. Don't come at me.
The
Make
thing
sure
of,
y'all get that right. Go to Larry.
yeah, come to me, because the thing about it is, I tell you what's what, and if you don't like,
See me.
because if you don't like what I say, then I send you to Jay. All right, so
Get the shit over with.
things.
Over with.
So the thing about it is, buyers in 2020. That is because that's when everything falls down, including the presidential election. So when everything comes along, look for Joy Kennedy, look for Judge Gail Williams-Byers in 2020. And how'd y'all meet? Y'all known each other how long? I'm gonna let Joy answer that question, because you already done burnt this up with a sermon. I don't think I need to go to church on Sunday tomorrow.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
She
And
just-
if you don't go to church, I'm telling.
Oh, you know what? All right, fine. And she know my past, and she know my pastor too. So you know what? I can't even say.
Tell your pastor to take attendance from the pulpit.
You know, you don't be calling Pastor Phillips. Don't be calling Pastor.
I'm not going to suggest that that you shouldn't go to church tomorrow. I'm also not going to suggest that it was a sermon. But like I said, I can never divorce myself from my convictions, and they just are what they are, and they are natural. So they're not feigned, and they are not manufactured. But this is who you get all day, every day, and this is, as you may know, I don't.
She keeps it brief.
All day, every day.
She keep it
You'll
one-
get this on Wednesday.
She keep it.
Because I feel the same way about this now that I do on Wednesday. Because here's what I'll tell you: my court live streams my proceedings every single day, and I'm glad that you said what you said. And I'll flip it back over to Joy Kennedy so she can respond about how we met. But this is something that's really super important to me because, and I say we live stream our proceedings because any given day you can look in on my court and you can see who's showing up there.
Right.
I'm a native of East Cleveland as well, so it's important to me to understand where I came from. And even though I was born and raised in Cleveland,
Right.
Went to Cleveland Public Schools until junior high school, and then, yes, I know, and then graduated from Charlotte, went to Case Western, and from that I ended up, where I ended up, and I'm really grateful. But in my courtroom, just about every day, you see large swaths of folks who look like me. Mm-hmm. And so I'm passionate about ensuring that whereas I know people, there's an entire system of justice that will not respond to their needs, will not respond to their concerns, doesn't even care. And as Joy talked about the fact that as her background as a social worker responds to concerns that we often don't even think about. I was just sitting in my advisory committee meeting just yesterday for my mental health docket, and somebody
Right.
mentioned that a large part of what we do is social work, which is true, and I don't hide from
Right,
that.
exactly.
Because we can't divorce ourselves from the social concept that what we do is we have to respond to the fact that we have more people showing up in our courtrooms that are challenged with severe and persistent mental illnesses, depression, PTSD, schizophrenia. They've got addiction problems, and we can't incarcerate our way out of our problems.
That's right.
Right.
We got to stop just throwing people in jail, throwing away the key, and expecting that they're going to walk out and they're going to be a totally different person
okay.
than who we put in there, and then wondering why the world we ain't getting a bang for our incarceration bucks.
Come on.
They just as addicted when they come out than when they went in, but we refusing to use our dollars to make sure that they get services, but we gonna put them in jail. And never mind the fact that we knew they had bipolar when they went in there, and our dollars are better used to connect them with services, but instead we just gonna mark time like we in band, and we gonna stand in place, and we not gonna connect them to Murder Sage Taylor, Frontline, Centers for Families and Children. We not gonna. Instead, we're more interested in breaking up their families.
That's right.
We're going to sit them in a corner. We don't care about making sure that they get, mental health treatment. No. We're more concerned about taking those dollars and throwing them in a corner and seeing if they're okay when they get out. Because we've convinced ourselves that they're incarcerated. And if by way that doesn't work, then why don't we just treat them like they're walking wallets? And just use the municipal court as a cash register so that we can just take their money and hope that by taking their money, we've somehow resolved their issue because, yes, that ought to teach them a lesson. So for the single mom who doesn't have any, the only money she got is the winter coat money. The only money she got left is the light bill money. The only thing she got left is the rent money. But that'll teach her a lesson about stealing the blueberries and the loaf of bread from the local store. That's never going to work, nor has it solved the problem. But there are still communities, and I will say, even in my own community, trying to talk to my own city council and explain to them that imposing impossible fines and penalties on people who can least afford it has never been a recipe for resolving the issues that folks are facing every day. That ain't no more than ink on paper. I ain't never known nobody. Domestic violence is the #1 violent crime in my community. I've never known anybody to stop beating their loved one because I imposed a fine on them.
If anything, they beat them.
I've never known anybody who's an alcoholic to stop drinking more because you imposed a fine on them. That doesn't resolve the problem. And so many communities still rely on their municipal courts to just impose impossible fines and fees on folks just to raise money for their city coffers instead of responding to the social issues that we know are at the root cause of the concerns where people are coming in and they need help more than they need their pockets picked.
Oh,
And courts can solve problems more than create them if you're courageous enough to do that. And sometimes you got to stand on the front lines and take some unnecessary heat in order to do that. And I've been taking that heat, but I'm yet willing to do that because it's the right thing to do. Even in a community that's not quite ready to take that leap of faith and do it, I'm still willing to do it.
oh,
Wow.
can the church say amen on that? I mean, okay, so Joy, that's why I had you start first. You understand that, the reason, right?
I see.
So, how did y'all meet? And probably through church or anything else, how did y'all meet? How long y'all known each other?
Well, I remember this young lady when she was a young lady at Shaw High School. I was a little bit older than her, so she may not remember me from back then. When I came back to Cleveland from Washington, D.C. and finished law school, I remember she was running for judge. I would see her on TV all the time with the grand jury work. And I kept saying, I know that girl. Mm-hmm. But when she ran for the very first time is when we were reconnected. We share sorority life together.
All right.
We are.
What sorority are y'all in?
Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority
Gamma.
Incorporated.
They gammas.
We
The unison is great in this room.
we're also members of the Black Women's Political Action Committee. And now we're walking that trail together. So I love her and I thank her.
And I love her more.
Oh, that's
This is sisterhood.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of warm and fuzziness in the room right now. I don't know if is Hallmark, or did Voice get bought out by Hallmark? I'm just asking a question for the masses. So 216-694-8910 is the number to call in. We got to go to break. Look out for them in 2020, and you know I'm going to bring them back, especially my Gail Williams buyer. So you're listening to the sounds of Jaleesa Sings.
Thank you.
And Joy Kennedy, Judge Byers, thank you very much. Y'all go ahead and have some more, because I ain't taking no food home with me. So when we come back, we're bringing in Tammy Kennedy and Dr. Richard Montgomery, who is the candidate for Mayor Euclid. Headlines and Headaches, Community Engagement, Candidate Forum, the Issue Forum, Larry H. Gardner, the Queen will go, Mike J. Bryce. By the way, Judge Byers, Chef Joey said, hey, Gidget.
Hey, Chef Joey.
All right, so, by the way, James Boston Jackson, Robert Vinyard, Eric Flynn, Blaine Griffin, Jerry Prim, Jennifer Lynn, Avery Joyce McCauley, Joseph Marks, Janet Rathcore-Luca, Jimmy Gates, and Finette Naylor were watching on Facebook Live, and thank all of you for tuning in. We'll be right back.